Hi, everybody. A very good morning to everybody present who are joining us live for this LinkedIn session. A warm welcome from Kolkata Calling. My name is Subid, and we do this weekly podcast every Sunday at 11 with a special guest from Kolkata. We call our podcast Hello Kolkata, and a big hello to everybody who will be joining us live, as well as people who will be listening to this later. So let's get started with today's episode. We are in episode 6, and time just flies by. We've got some amazing guests over the last few weekends, and today we also have another special guest, and we'll very shortly introduce uh, you all to him. A very quick note for members who will be listening. Please feel free to share your questions in the comments on the LinkedIn live stream. We'll pick up those questions for our guest to answer. So that's one. If you have suggestions for future guests that you would like to see on our podcast who want to talk about Kolkata, about their journey, please feel free to suggest those names as well, and we'll do our best to reach out to them and bring them on. It's been an exciting past 1 week for Kolkata Calling. We had some tremendous news coming in. We had Tredence Inc. Expanding in Kolkata, so that was a great news for us. Savic also opened their doors in Kolkata, so we'll be looking forward to them as well. And welcome to both the organizations who have put their faith in Kolkata and its talent ecosystem. We also put out a new story around the Webel IT hub that's being commissioned in Kurseong, and that's slated to go live by 2026. So it's a pretty big project and will boost employment and development in that region as well. In other news, Snap eCabs, proud Kolkata company, recently raised $2.5 million in funding, and we congratulate the entire Snappy team and wish you all the best on your journey. We don't know if you've seen a special coverage, not just in Times of India, but other mainstream newspapers as well, on Kolkata's IT renaissance. And that just gives us more faith and more encouragement to continue to talk about Kolkata and the positivity that is in the ecosystem, while the perception outside and sometimes even inside may not be as optimistic. With German companies coming in, with different infrastructure projects that are being set up, we really are looking forward to what Kolkata has in store for all of us in the year 2024. So that's all that I wanted to cover before I go into our podcast today. Today we have a very special guest, and before I bring him on the main stage, let me give all of you a very quick introduction to who we have. So we have Mr. Charanpreet Singh, or fondly known as CP Sir to all of us. Uh, he is the founder of Praxis Business School in 2007, which is set up to create leaders for a digital world. Praxis Business School is set up in Kolkata, and he's also been the CEO of AIM or AIM Education Private Limited, which is the holding company of Praxis brand. Today, he also holds the position of co-founder and director of Praxis Business School Foundation. A little bit about CP Sir's background. He has been an educationist all his life, and he'll talk more about those days. He's also acted as a faculty at IMS Learning Resources, where all of us used to go for our CAT coaching, ZAT coaching. So he's been an educationist throughout his career while managing his day job, the corporate career that he was in. And most of you also would have interacted with him in the Kolkata ecosystem and beyond as an avid quizzer and quizmaster. So we'll talk a little bit about quizzing and quiz mastering as well. Before he embarked on his journey as a founder and a full-fledged educationist with Praxis Business School, he also worked as a senior leader in various executive roles in global companies such as Hewlett-Packard, PwC, and Tata Steel. He's an alumnus and a rank holder from our very own South Point High School in Kolkata. He has a degree in mechanical engineering from IIT Kanpur. He's a Chevening Scholar from the University of Leeds and an MBA from the University of Iowa. So a lot to unpack there when we get into CP Sir's life. And a little note about Praxis. Praxis is a premier B school with twin campuses now in Kolkata and Bangalore. And the programs that Praxis offers are 2-year full-time AICT approved postgraduate diploma in management, a 9 months full-time postgraduate program in data science with ML and AI, and a 9 months part-time weekend-only postgraduate program in data engineering. So that's about Praxis. Let me now invite CP sir onto the stage. CP sir, good morning and welcome to Hello Kolkata.
Yeah, good morning and happy to be here.
Thank you so much, CP sir, for agreeing to come on the show. I have, known you through quizzing and IMS, and it's a pleasure and an honor to have you, sir, on Hello Kolkata. So thank you for agreeing to be a part of this. Uh, CP sir, we'll
It's
get
my pleasure. Yeah,
thank you.
go ahead.
We'll
Yeah.
get started straight away with your journey, and you had a very illustrious journey. Growing up in Kolkata, South Point, IIT Kanpur. Would love to know a little bit about the early days and a little bit about your background in Kolkata.
Well, Kolkata, I mean, I'm in love with Kolkata. That's why I'm still here.
Yeah,
And a lot of my more originally Kolkata friends have left the city, but I'm sure they have good reasons and good motivations to do so. Yeah, so I grew up in a place called Garcha Road. We were four of us, my parents and my sister and I. And my parents are from Gujranwala. So they on in partition they came to Delhi, and then Kolkata and Bombay were the two commercial centers at that time, and my parents chose Kolkata, and so that's why they came here. And I was born in Kolkata, and I've lived almost all my life here. And so growing up was great fun. I mean, we had road cricket, road football, road hockey, road badminton in Garsha. That time, when you wanted to play, you didn't have coaching camps like you have now. It was very, not corporatized at all. So it was
yeah,
more fun. But I can tell you, the Pada versus Pada games could turn quite competitive and
yeah.
sometimes quite aggressive as well.
They still are. They
So
still are.
yeah, okay. No, I don't know if you can still play because there's so many cars on the road. So I
Sure.
remember
Yes.
on the Gulcha road, there were just two or three cars, and we used to get very upset when they would either drive out of the garage or come back to the garage because that, kind of disrupted our game.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, so that's what we did. And at home, we listened to a lot of music. And
Hmm.
so my parents realized that the only way to success was education because we didn't have anything else. So I'm
Sure.
grateful to them for showing the way. And South Point played a big role in. I used to walk to school. I mean, South Point was in various places, Hindustan Road, and then Mandeville Gardens, which we had only
Hmm.
class four, and then high school, which is the present high school. But all of them were walking distance from Gacha Road. So I kind of walked to school every day with two or three of my friends, and school was it was rigorous as South Point is supposed to be, but it was also fun.
Yeah. So you say a lot that you played cricket and football, but you were also very academically studious and brilliant because being a rack holder in South Point and then getting into IIT Kanpur in those days was not a mean feat.
Yeah, I was I would say I was good at writing exams. I think
Hmm.
okay, I wasn't very studious. I used to
Hmm.
pay attention in class and try to finish everything there itself. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think I was fond of writing exams, and I was good. And if you write exams well once, then the confidence grows, right?
Yeah.
So I still remember a few friends of mine in South Point who I think knew much more than I did, but somehow I
Hmm.
had to score more. So I
Yeah.
think yeah, that's and
Yeah.
and and the rank in the West Bengal board was a surprise to me as well as many people.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
And
a,
and and CP sir would love to understand, obviously you said good education was a path to success or
yes.
even sustainability for you and your family. Would love to understand how IIT Kanpur came about, and I believe those days you had earlier mentioned that there were not so much corporatized coaching culture around getting into IIT. So how was
Yes.
cracking into IIT Kanpur and then your life in those 4 years?
See, I didn't even know whether I wanted to be an engineer or not. So in
Hmm.
those days, you could either be an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or a CA. I mean,
Yeah.
and I and as I said, I used to get good marks. So if you got good marks, you chose science. Otherwise, people would look at you with suspicion. Okay, so I chose science, and
Yeah.
I had a few very good friends at South Point, and we used to, and they were very aspirate. They had big aspirations, and so I kind of followed that, and I said, okay, fine, I
Hmm.
also. And then my cousin was 2 years older than I was, and he was in Delhi, and he got into IIT Kanpur.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and my uncle, my youngest of my father's siblings, he was in IIT Kharagpur second or third batch. So
Oh,
there was a
okay.
family history also, and
Yeah.
then I got into West Bengal JEE. I had a very good rank there, and Kanpur. So there was a and also the IITs Kharagpur, Kanpur. So there was some dilemma as to where should I go. But then because my cousin was at Kanpur, and Kanpur was supposed to be very good at that time,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I joined there. In terms of coaching, we used to have something called Agarwal classes.
Hmm.
It wasn't as rigorous or as overwhelming as quota and things are today.
Yeah.
So we used to get content delivered through post, and it was always
Yeah.
we always were surprised when it finally landed at our at home. And then unless you finished that and sent it back to them, and
They will
again
not send you the
based on the
next one.
vagaries of when your answers will reach them,
Yeah.
the next content would not be would not
Yeah.
come. So yeah, so as usual, like all of us are last minute, we would be trying to finish all the problems and sending them,
Hmm.
and they kind of I think showed us the way in terms of how to approach problem solving and all of that. So and some group studying, some individual studying. I mean, that's how we approached it, but it wasn't as uh, tense, as stressful as I
Hmm.
think it is now. You had just
Yeah.
five IITs, so if you got a slightly over 2000 rank or something, you didn't get in at all,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of people did not get in. So I think there was comfort in numbers.
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah. But
And
today is
sir, we discussed last night. We did a mini podcast of our own. We didn't record it, but and this
yeah.
question was this fascination, and that fascination is justified because IITs are premier institutes in India.
Mhm.
But there is a lot of stress, as you mentioned, that students today go through, and whether you call it the quota culture, which has been under various kinds of scrutiny about the well-being of students, and even in Kanpur, you mentioned that it was very academically grilling and challenging.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your life there, and how do you see today when you're seeing young students prepare for a similar exam? What has changed since then?
I think the IITs haven't. I don't know. I mean, I just keep going back to Kanpur. It still is
Hmm.
academically very rigorous. It always was. Uh, so again, there is more concern for the well-being of students. There is a proper counseling, service available now, and yet there are suicides happening even
Yeah.
now there. And
Yeah.
I think recently there were a couple of unfortunate incidents.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think the IITs kind of have remained the same,
Hmm.
but the pressure has. It's no longer the pressure of your near and dear ones, because now we are public figures, on social media and everything, and
Yeah.
the hype is also much more. If you get a rank in IIT, you're covered by media. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, and so
Posters
nobody
and
knew.
banners and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Our time, our school friends and Pada friends knew we had got into IIT, and the family. Nobody else knew that. And sometimes we discussed among ourselves that nobody interviewed us and nobody made a big deal about us. But I think that was good.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were more grounded, and we didn't feel that we were God's best creation because we got into IIT and all that. But today I think there is a lot of pressure on students, on everybody. I mean, whether you are in IIT or not, because of this whole
Hmm.
what next post can you write on social media, kind of extolling your own virtues. And also I think parental pressure may be higher. I don't know. uh,
Yeah.
uh, I was fortunate not to have any pressure at all, but even I had friends who had pressure, but not, I think, as much as it is today, because the parents are also part of this whole media
Yeah.
exposure,
Yeah.
right? So I think that if you leave the student alone, just nudge him or her a little bit, and I think quota is overwhelming. I've heard, I've never been there,
Hmm.
and it does help a few students, but it also destroys a few. So
Yeah.
if we could have processes and systems in place to predict that and prevent that, I think that'll probably
Makes sense.
mitigate the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And sir, curious, you did your engineering and then you sort of worked for a few years and then you went for your MBA and you
Yes.
went to University of Iowa. Um, Going abroad to do an MBA, what prompted you to do that? What was your thinking back then?
Okay. To be very honest, I realized in the first year of Kanpur that I would not make a very good engineer.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, solving math and physics problems to get into IIT was one thing.
Yeah.
Competing with people, most of who were, I think, better than I was at the institute itself was something else. And also, how much was I excited by the engineering side of it. Sometimes, if you perform very well, you get more interested. It could be
Hmm.
one thing, but I
Yeah.
think that I had realized that I would not be in the top 10, top 20 of the institute or my department or something like that, in IIT. And
Hmm.
uh, and I also found some of the social sciences, management sciences courses at Kanpur pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, and so I sometimes people ask me, how did you get a rank in the state? So I said that, you know all good students get very high rank marks in science. It's the language that actually decides the rank, which I realized later. So I was
Yeah.
good at languages and all that. So which is why my interest was towards the social sciences and the management sciences. And the second thing was that most of my friends, Kanpur used to be called the hangar for where everybody flew to the US. So
Okay.
a lot of my
Hmm.
friends
Hmm.
got scholarships and were, pursuing masters or PhDs.
Yeah.
And so there was this feeling of FOMO. I didn't know the term at that time, but
It
that's
wasn't
what I
there probably
recognize it
back then.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't there. Yeah. So I wanted to, I really wanted to go abroad. So my choice was between getting into a good B school in India and writing my GMAT and using the MBA to
Hmm.
go abroad. So I got a scholarship, and so I just took the next flight and went. Yeah.
And CP sir will now sort of get into your corporate career because you've had a pretty long and illustrious, proper, I would say conventional corporate career, and
Yeah.
you rose to executive leadership roles. You worked with HP, PwC, Tata Steel. How was your corporate career? Did it seem rewarding and fulfilling? What you had imagined it to be? Because I will obviously get into you becoming a founder later in life, but how was your corporate stints in those 15 years?
See, at that time, we did not, kind of assess what how is the career and am I getting what I want. We just wanted a job.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
at that time, if somebody gave a job to us, we were thrilled. So,
Lower in the
very
Maslow's
common.
hierarchy, very low in the Maslow's hierarchy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was. We were very low. Yeah, absolutely. And so I got into we. I was the first 4-year batch. So we were two batches graduating together at IIT.
Okay.
Okay, and the batch which was the last 5-year batch had an advantage of staying 5 years there, and I think learning more or whatever. So they were seniors yet contemporaries kind of thing, and so I got my first job with Indian Oxygen, and I spent 3 years in Jamshedpur and Kolkata. So I got an experience of shop floor. I used to handle shifts, and I was selected to join a group of four where I was like a baby because I had just joined and others were more
Hmm.
experienced. And we were sent to Malaysia to train to commission a new tonnage plant, the first one of its kind in Jamshedpur. So
Wow.
I had a commissioning experience also. But as I said, I still don't know whether I would have gained if I had stuck around with the company or not. But at that time, after 2 or 3 years, going abroad had become kind of a thing for me that I must do my management and I must do it abroad. So that's why I exited. On the After coming back, I joined Tata Steel, which is an absolutely wonderful company and joy to work with. I was there for 7 years, which
Hmm.
was my longest stint till I kind of started Praxis. And I worked in the international business there of raw materials. So I fixed ships for Tata Steel's raw material division. Then I did trading in uh, metallurgical coke and thermal
Yeah.
coal and all of that. And then I got an opportunity to an classmate of mine from school was at PwC, and he said, "Why don't you join consulting?" And so
Hmm.
again, let's see what consulting is all about. So I joined PwC, and then very quickly from there I joined HP. I joined Compaq, which became HP.
Hmm.
And when I exited HP, I was looking after marketing for the SMB uh, business part of the business. So I had manufacturing experience, then I had trading and international business experience, then I had consulting, and then finally I had account management and marketing. So
Wow.
pretty diverse experience.
Diverse.
And
Yeah.
I thought that I had a whale of a time working. There was
Hmm.
absolutely no issues on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And CP sir, I mean, I think, and you had mentioned during this corporate career stint, about 15 odd years more, that is when you also found your sort of calling to quizzing. And I know a lot of our listeners are quizzers or are interested in quizzing. And over the years, you've been a fabulous quiz master to in many events for us when we were in school and college. So you've done multiple IMS quizzes, in Delhi. You mentioned on a cruise, in NUS, all of those fancy places. The Royal Bengal Corporate Quiz, the South Point Quiz, quizzes for CII and Bengal Chamber of Commerce. How did that quizzing bug bite you? Because once it bites you, you're a quizzer for life, is what I feel.
Well, at school, I was never into quizzing. So the best quizzers you see in Kolkata or the world over are people who started quizzing at school because their fundamentals
Hmm.
are very strong.
Yeah.
Okay, and but I was always curious, so I would always listen to Bonvita quiz contest on the radio, but I
Hmm.
wouldn't read and prepare for quizzes or participate in quizzes, right?
Yeah.
And then when I went I actually the first formal quiz I did was when I was in and when and IIT Kanpur had a wonderful quizzing culture. So I used to
Yeah.
be picked for film quiz or sports quiz at the hall level and at
Okay.
the year level, not at the institute level. I wasn't good enough by far, but I could,
Hmm.
kind of help teams at the hall. And so I would always go and watch quizzes. I always liked trivia.
Yeah.
So when I came back to Kolkata, and the first formal quiz I did was uh, at Iowa. I was the Secretary India Association, the most
Okay.
what should I? The most gullible person gets that job. Okay,
Okay.
because the smarter people know how tough it is. But so I kind of fell for it, and then I
Hmm.
did a quiz for the Indians and Pakistanis. We used to be kind of together there,
Yeah.
and so that's the first time I actually created questions, and I love doing that.
Hmm.
Right. Then when I came back, I used to go to DI with a couple of friends, and there were quizzes happening. So one thing led to another. I got into a team, and that's how we started quizzing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think quizzing is becomes a lifestyle of sorts, right? Because you can't be an occasional quizzer, because then you completely fall out of the loop. So you have to
Yeah.
always keep your eyes and ears open and keep attending, and then that's how you, I guess, become a quizzer.
Yeah. So which is why I'm no longer a quizzer because I haven't been quizzing for the last 10, 12 years on a
But you
regular
become a quiz
basis.
master. You become a quiz master.
Yeah, because you have the answers, right? So it's easier. I mean,
Yeah,
so you can't lose as a QM. You can either
yeah,
do a good quiz or not so good quiz, but you can't make an ass of yourself and sit through the whole quiz
yeah.
and not answer a single question, right? So yeah.
And
So I
and
still
uh,
I still conduct
hmm.
quizzes. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
And here's one question which I was thinking. Like, I mean, I've seen a lot of quiz masters, including you. They have a bit of a educationist in them also, right? Like a lot of quizzers are teachers or professors in the profession. So, do you see some kind of you know, cross pollination between being a quizzer, being a teacher, is that something appeals to certain kinds of people, like a quiz master and a teacher or a professor?
I haven't thought about it. Maybe, giving gyan is the only point which is,
Common
but
line, yeah.
my quizzes are not professorial at all. I mean, they
Yeah.
are not that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, they are pretty light, and I mean, they are not easy, but
Yeah.
very conversational and not pedantic at all. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know of too many professors who are quizzers, but if you're saying so, you must have met a
So, for
few.
example, comes
Yeah,
to mind Barry O'Brien is a teacher, was a teacher.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
That's right.
Barry
Of
came to
course.
mind. Yeah. Uh, uh, CP sir, we'll sort of dial a little forward now. Your
Hmm.
corporate stint after that, you were in Gurgaon towards the end of it, I believe,
Yes,
and then you decided to come back to Kolkata from Gurgaon.
yes.
Uh, while all the talent from Kolkata, Bengal was going out and even further out, beyond India, what made you want to come back to your hometown and then, figure life from there? What prompted that move?
Well, actually, I came back from the States. I needn't have. I mean, because of my parents, and
Hmm.
they were not keeping well and all that. So once I've, ditched a career in the States and come back to Kolkata, I didn't feel that Bombay and Delhi were more motivating than, let's say, a Boston or a Chicago, right? So,
Hmm.
so then I decided to stick to Kolkata, and I'm very comfortable in the city. I mean, I've been there all my life, and
Yeah.
there's a certain warmth uh, that
Hmm.
that I really love. So, and I wasn't ever very ambitious. Sometimes I feel I should have been, but I mean, I was more, I wanted to be in a comfort zone and do things that I want to do and not really bother about anything too much. So, which is why when Kamlesh, who's our chairman and who's leading IMS, and he and I became friends because I taught a lot at IMS before that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I must have taught thousands, 10,000 students or something.
Wow.
And I really enjoyed that because there were no papers to correct. That was, I mean, that's the biggest challenge with teaching, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so when he, kind of offered me this whole deal that let's start a B school together,
Hmm.
and Kolkata was one of the options. So I decided that okay, one is I like teaching, I like academics, I like interacting with students, and then I can stay in Kolkata. So it's kind of a lot of other factors that also kind of fitted in. And I said, let's do something, rather than just working for others. So that's how I
Yeah.
started.
And
I didn't
hmm.
do, yeah. So just
No,
interrupting
go
you,
ahead.
I didn't do the strategy, the resources, the things that we teach and we learn at MBA. I
Yeah.
didn't do any of these when I took that decision. I mean, it was basically very more impulse and emotion than
Hmm.
actual strategic planning that, is Kolkata the best place? Is
Hmm.
this location the best location? Is MBA the best thing to get into? And what strengths do we have? What weaknesses? Should we go for affiliation or not? I mean, we just, you know, kind of jumped into it. Yeah.
Hmm. And sir, you mentioned that Kamlesh sir was instrumental in pushing you towards this, and you obviously enjoyed
Yes.
teaching. But to set up
Yes.
a B school, right? Like no background in setting up institutes. Uh, you know, what were the challenges in setting up a B school, and that too in Calcutta? Like on your own, without government support or other kind of support. What were the challenges in those days?
Well, a lot of people have told me that if I can write a good book on that, I would make more money than I've ever done. I mean, it's not-
Yeah,
so
sure.
yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievably complex task to set up an institution because there's so many components,
Hmm.
and there is no place to fail because you are handling people's careers.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and a PGDM or any management, postgraduate in management is very, uh, outcome driven.
Hmm. Yes.
People don't join it to become wiser and more knowledgeable. Essentially, they join it to so that they are able to get a good job. I mean, and of course, the knowledge and the learning helps. but it's
Hmm.
the outcome which is, and so to put everything together and, to compete as a completely new name. And that's the time when we thought we were smart to set up a school in Kolkata. There were other people who were smarter, and they were also at that time 2 or 3 schools suddenly came up, and we didn't know
Hmm.
that that was happening, right? So we didn't do all that research and the market survey or anything. We just, you know, and so yeah. So the challenges were to get the get the infrastructure going, to get the right faculty, to get the right dean, to set the, in the first few years, the pedagogical and cultural standards of an institution take shape,
Hmm.
and that can go any way. So we were lucky that those things happened, well for us.
Yeah.
And we had our first dean as Professor Govindrajan, who was from XIMB and all.
Yes.
So he was our academic expert, right? And he
Hmm.
himself used to say that I am not an academic expert in other places, because he was a fantastic teacher. But here he
Hmm.
had to, wear the hat of also the person who's putting in processes and all. So yeah, so together I think the team kind of rallied around, and we took it forward.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
and
think
we
so.
still have challenges. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, sir, please.
that's it. That's it. Yeah,
Yeah, so I think what comes across, sir, from our conversation so far is that the intent was never to make money as the primary goal, but it was because the love for teaching and providing students a platform, the learning for them to become more accomplished in their career. So I think that also plays a role. What's in your heart? What are you truly driving at? What is the intent behind setting up this institution? It was not to make money, is what comes across uh, from your conversation. And you're obviously being very humble, but setting up a business school in India and in Calcutta must have been extremely challenging. Today, over the last 17 years, Praxis has grown. We are much more aware of the brand. Students line up for that. What do you see as the founder, the director? What makes Praxis attractive for students who are looking for careers in analytics, data science, and ML, which has become a very hot topic today, and we'll get into that. But what
yeah,
makes Praxis stand out?
yeah. Two things. One is that although the intent was not to make a lot of money,
Hmm.
but we had an investor, and of course there was some intent to make it a profitable venture. And
Sure, of course.
unless you make money and you feed it back into the institution doesn't grow, right?
True.
So we grew slowly, but I think that's a good thing, because we are now stable, and there is a comfort around where we are today.
Hmm.
So I think Praxis is an attractive institute for the PGDM. It is getting more attractive as time goes by, because we are getting more recognition both from the student community, the recruitment community, the academic community. I mean, it's a respected name today in PGDM education, right? And we started analytics in 2011, before anybody had kind of heard of it,
Yep. Yep.
because again, our industry connects, people we had worked with, they told us that, you guys, we had Pritish, who's like a leading edge technology person, who was our director, academic director. And so, we had people from technology and sciences who could teach analytics, and I mean, Praxis would not have done well in luxury management, so to speak, right? But we would have probably done well in analytics. So our friends recognized that, and they told us that, we don't have a pipeline of students. Why don't you start this program?
Hmm.
So we got the early mover advantage, and we kind of built the course. We started with analytics. We changed it to data science, because what we were teaching had changed. So I think two or three things that I think are our real strengths. One is what we call intent. Our intent is never to mislead the student, or to, you know, I mean, we don't chase the money of the fee of the student. There's so many students whom we say that, you probably not, this is not probably the career for you. Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
Or sometimes we have even told the person that why don't you do a 2 year course in a really fabulous institute because you're good enough for it. So we do things like that. So that is one. So I think the intent, although there are ups and downs in placements because of market conditions and all that, but our
Sure.
intent is very. I think that is one. And second, I think is that we are very nimble
Hmm.
because we don't have bureaucracy. There's no management. Everybody
Hmm.
whose management also teaches.
Hmm.
Right. So there's not somebody, who's detached from all this and is saying that this is the way the institute should run. I mean, everybody is involved. So we are very nimble. We three or four of us meet and say, okay, fine, we need to change the pedagogy or we need to change the content, and because the generative AI, it's already included in our
Hmm.
this year's data science program, and it just
Yeah.
took 2 hours of discussion and 2 3 hours of how what to drop and what to add, right? So I think nimbleness is the other. Third is I think we have very strong relations with industry
Hmm.
because we are all the most of the people who are part of this running the institute have very strong academic as well as industry backgrounds, and that helps.
Yeah.
So I think these two three things I think are
Hmm.
working in our favor. There are several that are not. I'm not going to say them out, but there are
Sure.
there are challenges also. Yeah, yeah,
And sir, you mentioned, the new age technology, Gen AI, and this is
yeah.
something that has been on my mind because today every article, every podcast, everybody is talking about AI, ML, and that has sort of created, as you earlier said, this FOMO in people. I want to become a
Yes.
data scientist. I want to become an ML engineer. I want to, get into AI, ML, all of that. So do you see, and because from your vantage point as an educator and as a founder of an institute, do you see this as a fad today, just like there were fads earlier that come and go with new kinds of technology, or do you see it differently from your lens, this new age technology that we're talking about, AI, ML, Gen AI, and the perception in the students mind that everybody is rushing towards it, uh, because everybody is offering a course on data science today.
Yeah, so I think that fundamentally it's different from a technology, right? It's a science, okay,
Okay.
and it's a science that basically gets useful information out of data and helps us make better decisions based on that
Sure.
information, right? So I don't think that as a concept this is ever going to go because
Mhm.
the amount of data that we'll churn out will keep on increasing unless it leads to so much global warming that there is a cap on that. So we
Because
don't know what's going to happen.
because of the computational,
Yeah, yeah.
bandwidth
So
that's required.
somewhere there has to be a limit to everything. That's what I've understood in my rather longish life, that there has to be a cap on everything. Nothing can go
Yeah. Hmm.
unbridled. So
Hmm.
but I mean, but even if that happens, at least that much of data will keep getting generated.
Hmm.
And to harness that data, to make it useful, to use that data well, to because data is if you have an honest mind, data will give you the real picture.
Hmm.
And if you have a dishonest mind, you can actually manipulate data and make it say
Sure.
whatever you want to say,
There
right?
is this
So
famous
we are
quote
not
about
getting
statistics. There is this famous
yes,
quote about
yes. So
statistics that we studied.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And if you torture the data enough, it will confess to anything,
Yeah.
right? So we are leaving that aside because anything that new that comes, it can always be misused, and I think humanity has shown that it's very good at misusing also, right? So
Hmm.
this will happen, but the from the good use, corporates, governments, educators, it's a fantastic thing to have where you can get better at understanding what happened
Hmm.
and also predicting what's likely to happen.
Okay.
So that's the predictive part, and then of course computer vision and NLP, and then going forward to Gen AI. I
Yeah.
mean, all of that is there to help make things easier and faster,
Hmm. Sure.
right? So
Hmm.
yeah, and also so I think that these skills, I mean, data professionals. whether they are into data science, data engineering, cybersecurity, analytics. I think data professionals will be here to stay. What skills they will need tomorrow or day after tomorrow to remain data professionals, some of those skills may change or
Hmm.
may get more advanced, or there'll
Yeah.
be more techniques. But basic understanding of numbers, statistics, operations research, I think these are fundamental things that will be
Hmm.
required. And if you have an aptitude, I'm coming to the second point that everybody wants
Hmm.
to get into data science. I
Yeah.
mean, IPL is a far better career than data science,
Sure.
right? So everybody should start vying for IPL. But
Yeah.
when I interview students who obviously are not comfortable with math, but they want to get into data science, I actually ask them the question, why not IPL? And they said, no, no, I know I'm not that good at cricket. So I said that why don't you ask the same question to yourself about data and numbers? Are you that good at numbers? And
Hmm.
it's important to own that up and look for where your strengths are.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, a good salesperson is far better than a bad data scientist. Career
Sure.
wise, mental health wise, everything wise, and contribution to society wise, right? So you
Yeah.
have to, I mean, there are three things, right? Your aptitude, what are you good at? So you have to understand that,
Sure.
okay? And then what are your interests? You may be good at math, you may not want to do math all your life,
Sure.
right? And third is where is growth. So I
Hmm.
think that part is taken care of today. I think there's growth in everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
if you fly a kite really well, I think you can make a lot of money today. There's somebody
Yeah.
will spot you,
Yeah.
right? So it's your ability, interest, and growth
Yeah.
opportunities where these meet. You know, where that is where I think you should look for a career. It sounds very easy to do. It's not easy because it's a question of self-discovery, and some people can improve also, although they were not good at something for a long time. So all these are complex questions. But I
Hmm.
think that you should not just jump into something just because there is scope. I mean, you have to also see whether you will be better at most others
Yeah.
uh, in that domain. Because,
Yeah.
yeah,
And sir, you had mentioned in our conversation last night as well that even if you are not a data science professional, even if you are
yes.
in finance or marketing or HR, data is key to your success in any function in any field.
Yeah, I will go ahead with that. I mean, I know I'm sticking my neck out because there are some people who are doing brilliantly, and they have, so those are very specific careers, right? If you're a painter or you're a cricketer, I mean, although cricketers are also sitting with laptops and trying to figure out, you know,
Tapping
some
data, performance
statistics.
data, yeah, yeah, performance
Yeah,
data,
yeah,
everything
yeah,
is being
everywhere.
analyzed.
Yeah, and so, somebody would analyze it for you if you are a cricketer, but if you understand it yourself, you'll be able to respond much better.
Hmm.
So again, you need not have the specialized advanced skills of a data scientist, but it's good to keep becoming better at understanding numbers
Hmm.
and be familiar with numbers, what we call data familiarity.
Hmm.
Okay, and then comes data fluency, and then comes data expertise. So I think nobody asks everyone to go for data expertise, but as long as you can be data familiar and you can move to data fluent, you will understand the reports better, you will understand an Excel sheet better. Even if you're an HR person, why is attrition happening?
Sure.
Think in terms of numbers. How many people from this college come every year and how many leave? So is this a good college for us to go to?
Hmm.
You know, that thinking which is based on numbers rather than feel. And sometimes numbers totally shock you because
Hmm.
you've been trained feeling certain things, and things change. Consumer
Yeah.
behavior changes, environment changes, and these small changes over a period of time actually lead to pretty, uh, you know, uh, significant changes. And sometimes
Yeah.
you may not even recognize them because you still feel a lot of people do the same thing that they were doing earlier. So I think
Yeah.
data is important. Yeah, I'll still go with that.
Yeah. And sir, which brings me to Praxis. So how is the pedagogy, evolved and still evolving to meet the requirements of the industry, which is sort of the guiding factor or the driving factor, for students to pursue the courses, to get those opportunities, and overall keeping in time, keeping in step with the changing technology landscape. How does Praxis evolve its pedagogy, and what does it provide to its students?
Yes, that's a good question. So the first thing we did when we were setting up this institute, that we got people who had been to good institutes to start Praxis.
Hmm.
Because unless you have experienced a good institute, you don't know what happens in a good institute,
Sure.
right? How do you build one, right? I
Hmm.
mean, of course, there are people who would have done that, and but for us, because we were literally, as you said, starting from scratch with no experience, no
Yeah.
deep pockets, so we got those people. So some of the pedagogy was, this is what used to happen at Kanpur, or this is what used to happen at Ahmedabad, and or Kharagpur, or these kind of institutions, and kind of build some of those in. And also we got very good professors from other institutes. We started with an academic relationship with XLRI. We got a lot of their profs to teach. So,
Hmm.
the team also, so we got a lot of inputs from them as well. So that's how we set up the pedagogy. We were sometimes too ambitious because, you know, uh, uh, capability of and the speed of an MBA is much 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 higher than the speed of an engineering program. So some
Sure.
of those things don't work as well. But so the pedagogy is, for me, there are two outcomes that we look for uh, as a very high level outcome when you graduate from Praxis. Are you a better thinker than you were when you know joined Praxis? Are
Hmm.
you able to create, construct arguments better? Are you able to connect the dots, look at two functions and see how they make? I mean, basically, this whole cognitive and thinking exercise.
Hmm.
So, can you feel it? And we also encourage students to self-assess their own thinking processes, right? So, that is one. And the second is, are you a better learner than
Hmm.
before? So, have you understood your learning style, and are you able to, and that happens on its own, right?
Yeah.
We don't have separate classes for this. Because I think a very important and sometimes not doesn't get the importance it deserves is the assessment, because assessment
Hmm.
drives behavior, right? So if your questions kind of push the person to think, I mean, they can't answer and get marks just by remembering stuff.
Yeah.
Then you realize that if I have to get marks, and plus the whole class is also handled in that manner, and a
Hmm.
lot of encouragement to students to talk in class,
Hmm.
interrupt the teacher and put their point across, disagree, and all of that. So where we are, and also, so there you have to take care of your own future. You can't blame the environment for your lack of success.
Hmm.
Finally, the locus of that is you yourself. Yeah.
Hmm.
So grabbing that and becoming better at thinking, better at learning. So our way of teaching, case studies we do, and our way of uh, running the pedagogy, and also the way of assessment.
Yeah.
I think together, yeah, and so technology plays a role. We when COVID happened, we went online. It was easy for us because we were already into technology and Zoom and all and everything, and we
Yeah.
still use that because once we did it at COVID for external speakers and all of that, and so I think we will use technology more as we move forward. Uh, you
Hmm.
know, we're trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Uh, so
And
yeah,
and sir, so you mentioned, that students who are aspiring for a career in data science, data analytics, should keep these three factors in mind, which you very nicely put as your aptitude, your interest, and the scope of growth in that field.
yes,
So
yeah.
for our members in Kolkata community, or Kolkata Calling community listening, who should apply at what stage for a course, or a program at Praxis? What would your suggestion be to those listeners?
Okay, so I would say that so there are two parts to it. One is the PGDM, which is the Praxis Business School, and one is the data science, which is the Praxis Tech School. So I'll
Hmm.
cover the PGDM first. So I think a- anybody who is looking to do an MBA or a PGDM, it has a very broad footprint. You could be
Yeah,
doing it to get a job. You could be doing it to get stronger in finance, in marketing, in analytics,
sure.
HR. It kind of covers a lot of things. So yeah, so if you want, you're looking at a good contemporary education
Hmm.
and becoming better at taking care of your career as you graduate. I mean, which is post your campus placements, because campus placements is just the beginning. It's not nowhere close to the end, right? But how do
Yeah,
you perform in your job is what eventually builds your career.
true.
So I think we set people up for performing to the best of what they have when they graduate. I mean, we surely want people to do what to be able to uh, I mean leverage their skills to the best of their ability. Yeah. So I
Okay.
think that is GDM and data science. And so you can come at any stage. You can
Okay.
come straight from graduation. You can work for a couple of years and come, and all of that is fine. We are even thinking of starting an executive program only for experienced people. I
Hmm.
don't know when that will happen, but may not be too late in the day. For the tech school, so we are I mean, top ranked brand in the country in data
Yeah.
science, right? We have a 9 month full time program, very rigorous, uh, sometimes so rigorous that we have meetings saying that can we reduce,
Hmm.
the pressure on the students, because 9 months, because we have two cohorts, January and July.
Hmm.
Okay, and so the placement cycle and everything together, I mean, that 9 month is very useful for us and the students. So here, I think the trend has been for people with 2 to 5, 7 years of experience to leave their jobs and join. But recently, we've seen an increase in the percentage of freshers, because I think the fresh from college, because I think that the awareness levels about data
Hmm.
science and this whole domain have increased.
Yeah.
So people who don't want a gap in their education, finish their engineering or their ecostat math
Hmm.
or BSc physics, BSc math, BSc statistics, whatever, and they come straight.
Hmm.
Right? So to answer your question, who should apply? I think if you had math in 11 and 12,
Hmm.
okay, and you did not leave science because you were poor at math,
Hmm.
I think
Okay.
we are on. After that, whatever you did, even if you did commerce, you did English honors, if you had 11 and 12 math and you were happy with it and you enjoyed it, we can, of course,
Hmm.
if you're English honors, you haven't touched math, so I may be exaggerating, but we have had people from the arts also
Hmm.
join the program. Okay, but that I think is rare, very rare. But if you had maths and if you had, and so we've had people from geophysics joining us. So all kinds of
Hmm.
different
Okay.
backgrounds. Engineers,
Wonderful.
as usual, form I mean, the bigger
Yeah.
part,
That is
as
India.
usual. That's
Uh,
India, right? Yeah.
yeah. CP sir, we'll sort of now go into our last segment for today, which is
Yeah.
about Kolkata, right? And we typically ask our guests, their views on Kolkata. And you've obviously been a big torch bearer, flag bearer for Kolkata. And you said that, I am more Bengali than other Bengalis probably in Kolkata.
Yeah,
Um,
probably, yeah.
what do you see are some of the challenges in the Kolkata talent ecosystem? Because now you have a very, I would say, entrenched view of talent coming in, talent, getting placed. You are in the thick
Yes.
of things. What do you see are some of the challenges in the talent ecosystem, the skills landscape in Kolkata today?
But I don't think there is a challenge actually. I mean, I think that uh, I think Kolkata students could do with a little more confidence in their own abilities. Somewhere I
Mhm.
feel, because I talk to students across the country, we have a
Hmm.
Bangalore campus. I think that somewhere, I think it's because of as you said right at the beginning, perception about Kolkata and all of that. I
Hmm.
think somewhere, we need to regain that confidence and say that, we are as good as anybody in the country,
Hmm.
and I think it starts at student level,
Hmm.
right? And I don't know how to infuse that. I mean, we try to do a lot of that, even in my casual conversations with students. Uh, you know, because if you look at ISI is in Kolkata, IIT Kharagpur, IIM Kolkata, Jadavpur, some of the most iconic institutions are in Calcutta, and
Hmm.
uh, uh, the and I think that every state has many colleges.
Yeah.
Okay, and some are very good, some are good, some are struggling. Okay, and I think that there is a place for all kinds of colleges because all every student needs a college,
Hmm.
right? So I think that I think what the colleges need to do is keep improving,
Sure.
right? And keep, yeah. But if you are good enough to get into IIM Ahmedabad, you probably don't need it. I'm just saying that. Okay, you
Yeah.
could have gone anywhere and done as well. So it's the other colleges that build careers are, I think, doing a tougher job. I think if you leave the 400 people who join an IIM Ahmedabad together for 2 years, just give them real estate and food. I think they will do great things.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I may be controversial, but I'm just saying that a lot of training, a lot of excellence has already gone in before they get into an institute, like competitiveness, all of that.
Yeah.
So but here what happens is that people don't have faith in themselves. They haven't seen good grades, so they think they are not capable of getting good grades.
Hmm.
And grades I'm seeing because that is the only outcome that you see.
Yeah.
So there is some correlation between either seriousness or aptitude or both,
Hmm.
right?
Sure.
So I don't think I won't, and I do quizzes at school level, college level, and all of that. I see lots of bright students,
Yeah. Yeah.
but but a lot of them leave Kolkata. So I
Yeah.
think the challenge is in retaining them
Yeah.
as along with everybody else,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no. So, and when you said that, that is also one of our dreams, that the good talent that has left Kolkata in the last whatever number of years actually decides to come back, and we are getting more and more stories that are coming to us, that people have made that choice, coming back to Calcutta,
Yes.
doing their own thing, or working for Kolkata companies. And obviously, sir, you mentioned that outcome driven thing. So this is also a factor of organizations and corporates putting their faith in the talent in Kolkata, and then bringing them, like the corporates coming to Calcutta rather than not taking the talent out of Calcutta to wherever their offices are. What can academia, institutes such as Praxis do to encourage organizations which have a great presence in rest of the India and who hire talent, every year, to bring them to Kolkata? How can we do that? Because if I think corporates start putting more, emphasis on Kolkata, I think the talent will feel that confidence, and that's what we see, right? When we share more companies coming to Calcutta, that kind of news gets a lot of positive vibe and sentiment from our audience, because they now get that confidence. Okay, this great company which we've heard of and known about is coming to Calcutta, then there must be something good happening in Kolkata. How can we increase that process?
Yeah. So I think that it's a good question. I think COVID helped a lot because
Sure.
after COVID, I think there has been a bunch of companies who realized that all their talent lies in Calcutta. People are not willing to
Yeah.
relocate again and all that, and so let's bring the company to Kolkata,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
rather than trying to and there's a lot of other things, ecosystem, the industry
Hmm.
ecosystem, I think, which is improving and needs to improve further. And
Hmm.
there is a lot of I think we have to reposition Calcutta, which is always tougher than creating a new brand. We learn that in brand management
Hmm.
because for some reasons, good or bad, true or false, I think Kolkata needs to be better perceived
Yeah.
and we at least perceive that at least as good as it is, and not far below that, right?
Yeah.
So there are historical reasons for that. So I
Sure.
think that a lot of companies are coming. We are in talks with two of them. They want to tie up with us, and we are already started those conversations
Hmm.
because they are also passionate. They say that we want Kolkata people to work in our offices. So I'll
Yeah.
give you a very simple statistic. I'm not going to give you the number, but the number of people who get jobs in Kolkata from the Praxis PGDM and data science program, especially the PGDM program, have
Hmm.
gone up considerably over the last 3, 4 years.
Hmm.
So the percentage of the batch that gets placed in Kolkata, because when we started, we used to all place a very large part of the batch in Bangalore and Bombay
Sure.
and Delhi and all that. So having said that, so even if these offices are coming, they will take care of the first few years of your career.
Hmm.
As you grow, it's the head office,
Yeah.
right? So not only do we need satellite offices, we also need more head offices, right?
Yes.
And that is a tough thing. And also the startup system. I think that is going very well now. I mean, or
Hmm.
much better than it was because,
Yeah.
I'm a member of the Thai Charter Group of Kolkata. I see a lot of excitement there. There's a Bengal Business Council. There's a lot of
Yes.
action there. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that, and I see a lot of Bengalis, looking at startups because I mean, there's no question of talent
Yeah.
or lack of talent. Absolutely no. Okay, so it's just that do they have the energy and the risk-taking ability to start their own company, and that's happening. And we have all, and some of the companies then move to Bangalore or Mumbai at a certain stage in the startup because they feel
Hmm.
that's where the ecosystem is. So I think in a couple of years, maybe we will be strong enough in ecosystem where they stick to Calcutta and becomes a Kolkata startup rather than a startup that started at Kolkata and now is relocated somewhere
Yeah.
else. So I think
Yeah.
everything that's happening is positive. I think maybe the rate could be a little higher, and more important, I think the news has to be, the
Sure.
perception to change. We have to keep talking about it. I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
very important, which you guys are doing a great job, I think.
No, thank you. Thank you, sir. I mean,
Mhm.
coming from you, that means a lot. I mean, we try our best. And I
Mhm.
think when companies come to Kolkata, I think it's also important for us as a community to show our love and welcome them. Uh, and sometimes what we
Yeah,
feel is, we treat it with a little bit of, uh, what should I say, pessimism. uh, News, positive news. And I think when companies also see that, hey, we get good response, but then there are also people saying that, why are you coming to Kolkata? What is here in Kolkata for you to come? So that also makes the company second guess, did we take the right call in coming to Kolkata? So I think as a
yeah,
as a united front, as a community, if we can show that love and welcome companies to Kolkata, and this is for all our community members. I'm nobody to preach anything, but I think that will give the companies more confidence about the ecosystem that exists here, about the culture that exists here. Because as sir you said, that talent has never been in question. You
no,
know, Kolkatans, Bengalis, non-Bengalis, going out of Kolkata and taking all the great positions in all the great companies around the world. So I
absolutely.
think that has never been into question. But it is, I think, the overall, as you said, ecosystem where we need to bring in more energy and drive, that will definitely get this going. CP sir, last couple of questions before I let you go. It's Sunday, and I'm sure you
Mhm.
have a day off and plans for that. One question that you mentioned, the startup ecosystem. We have a question from our community member, Souvik Haldar. Souvik wants to know, does Praxis plan to start a course on entrepreneurship? Is that something that you see happening anytime soon, or not?
Yeah, so we in fact, today at 6 in the evening, I have a meeting with somebody who's an expert at helping create an ecosystem of startup and incubation at academic institutions.
Okay,
Okay, so if that and so we are interested and we are talking to people. We just have
wonderful.
to, it's competitive, right? So I am Kolkata's next door, and they have a fantastic startup going now.
Yeah.
ISI has started one, and these are big brands. So how
Mm.
can we also be part of that, and what can we do? So I don't
Yeah.
want to do something half-heartedly just for namesake and just do a course or something. I mean, uh, eh, we have an entrepreneurship cell at
Okay.
Praxis, and I think we need to make that very active also,
Mm-hmm.
right? So a course in entrepreneurship, standalone course in entrepreneurship, we'll have to now we do a market survey before we start anything. So we'll have
Mm.
to figure out, what kind of demand it will have, how long should the program be, what should be
Mm.
the content. So it's one of the things. ESG is another thing we are looking at.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because that's again, it's becoming very important. So out of the two, three things that we are looking at, one of them is entrepreneurship. Yeah, I hope that
Okay,
answers
wonderful.
your
Yeah, I
question.
think Shovik,
Yeah,
thanks for that question, and I think we got some good news from
yeah,
Sir as well. Sir, last question before I let you go. You've been an educationist all your life. You worked with students. You still, do you're very hands-on in the experience and the careers of students. A lot of young people listen to us and follow our page who are in the, about to join their corporate career. They're passing out of, either their engineering or graduation or completing their MBAs. Couple of, I would say, your advice for them as they embark on their career journey. No other better person to hear it from than you. So, would love to hear.
This is a toughie actually because uh, I mean, this advice obviously has to be very general because
Mhm.
people are different.
Sure.
So I could say just follow your passion and all that sounds great, but it's very tough
That is
for
for Shah
you
Rukh
to
Khan.
figure out. Yeah, if you, so I keep telling you that if I were very talent, if I was very talented, I wouldn't have done engineering, right? So anybody who goes through this engineering MBA obviously is not, tremendously talented in something else. If he is, he's wasting his time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so I think that one thing I would want you to do is do a realistic strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats kind of thinking. I think we rarely do a self-assessment, and
Hmm.
that what am I good at, and what ticks for me, what do I need to improve in,
Hmm.
and and also look at what kind of work would I want to do.
Hmm.
It's
It's
not
the
about
same interest and
designations.
aptitude wala. That is very
हाँ
important.
वैसा ही है मतलब in the sense that do I want to do analytical work? Do I want to go out meet customers? And am I a person who would like to
Hmm.
be social and I don't want to be staying in office, or do I want to stick to office? So nobody wants to have any job that has targets. And then
Hmm.
what does the company pay you for? I mean, you have to meet
Correct.
targets, right? Everybody in the world has targets and you have to meet them. But what kind of targets and what would you like? Would you like to meet timeline targets in finishing a research work, or would you like to meet number targets into what is the revenue you got for the company? I mean, those
Hmm.
kind of things, right? And do independent thinking. I mean, we kind of get too influenced by what is the fad, what are others doing. You
Hmm.
are an individual yourself, and you do your own independent thinking, and then of course go to people who are more experienced,
Sure.
bounce it off them, but independent thinking, thinking about yourself, your own strengths, your own aspirations, your own ability, your own interest. I think that is one thing I would like everybody to do.
Wonderful, sir. And just to take a note from what you said, you mentioned that Praxis is a place where people learn to learn and learn to think.
Yeah,
So please do check out Praxis Business School. And CP sir is always very kind to answer questions. He is active on social platforms as well. Please feel free to reach out. CP sir, uh, really learned a lot from talking to you today and listening to you. And thank you on behalf of our community for giving us time on a Sunday and speaking to all of us. Really, really a pleasure.
yeah. Thanks very much, and Shubid, and wonderful being here. And best wishes to everybody. And I wish Hello Kolkata and a bright future and Kolkata Calling. Yeah,
Thank you
keep
so
doing
much,
the
sir.
work
If
that
there
you're
is some
doing. Yeah,
collaboration we can do with Praxis, with your entrepreneurship cell, we'll definitely be in touch, sir. It'll be our
Sure,
pleasure
sure.
to socialize.
Yeah, yeah. We will discuss. Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye,
Thanks.
everybody. Thanks.